was carried through. And
Thank you. That's exactly what I was. That's exactly what the goal was. Because yeah, I love that about Dark Souls. How it's such an exacting, difficult game. And it's like the action is definitely a part of it. Your skill is definitely a part of it. But all of that is just so interconnected with how you build out your character, and you have like this unique sense of ownership because it's so difficult and so your character is such a reflection of what you put into them, that like any accomplishment you do really feels like it's yours. I really wanted to capture that. I'm so glad that you picked that up.
thank you. So as I was saying, like I can and will go full fan on this game in a while. What I would like to do is talk about just take a little bit of a step back, because one of the things you mentioned earlier in the day is that you're still using the XNA development setup.
Oh yeah.
This, for by my understanding, Salt and Sanctuary was Steam first as its release.
It was PS4 first. Is that you asked Steam first? You cut out a little bit.
I did. So it was PS4 first, then Steam.
Yes.
And you made it in
right?
XNA.
And it's made in XNA.
Okay.
So crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. So
James, Michelle, you got to fill me in. What am I missing here? What? How did that happen?
There's an open source kind of it's basically functionally equivalent to XNA, but it's an open source framework called Monogame.
Okay.
So if you write code in XNA, you can basically copy, like make a version of the same project that uses all the mostly all the same code. You're gonna have platform specific stuff anyway, but so it's mostly all the same code, but it's using Monogame to do all this stuff. And Monogame got PS4 support, so
Yeah, at the time, Monogame was supported on PS4 and not Xbox One, and we had talked to Xbox initially because that's what we were familiar with, and
Yeah.
they pretty much just said, well, we're not supporting XNA anymore, so hey, there's Unity, and we had already started our project in XNA, and we're not about to transfer an entire project over to Unity, which has its own set of problems. So we're gonna try to find something that works. And we had a conversation with Sony, and they were like, "Oh, hey, we have Monogame. Why don't you come over to this side of the water?"
Water's great.
Very true.
So we said, "All right, I will take it."
I have a lot of love for the ID Xbox team and the Xbox indie team. They're a great bunch of folks, but I guess I'm saying this so that no one else has to, but you have to go where the support is. You can't can't stay on a platform that isn't going to support you out of loyalty, because the platform will live on and the studio won't.
Yeah, seriously.
So one of the things that I took away from like some of the business classes I took was one of my professors said, you have to grow or you will die. Like, your business will die if you do not grow. And that came true exactly, where we had to do something. We had to change. We had to move in order to keep going as a company. Yeah. Otherwise, it might not have worked out.
We would have actually died.
We would have had to get real jobs.
I know. Yeah, whenever I go on about this stuff, I always at some point I'm I am spoiled. like in my head. It's just because it's I'll be and we just barely scraped by, and if this didn't work, we would have had to get real jobs. And then whoever I'm talking to is just oh, you mean like I do? And I'm just oh, I'm the worst person in the world.
I've definitely had a few of those flubs myself.
Right. It's just
it's true.
Dead end 9-to-5 jobs, and the person I'm talking to is that's what I have. I'm oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm an idiot.
We've all been there, but it's also worth saying that if missteps had happened along the way, there are games that exist now that wouldn't. I do want to talk a lot about Salt and Sanctuary. I want to talk about its inspirations, and I want to talk about its art, but I've got you both, I think, for another hour or so, and before I jump into it, I do want to talk about the business stuff that you've done, Michelle, because let's be frank, let's be honest. We've seen other studios that have had similar success as both the Dishwasher titles have had, and made a game with zombies, and they have grown their teams very quickly. They have made follow-up titles, and they have died just as fast, and it's scary.
It is, yeah. I think part of our survival was that we are a small team of two, and we didn't have employees to pay salaries to, and health insurance and benefits and all that.
I mean, we had
part of it
employees,
is
we
that,
just didn't pay them, right? I'm just.
No, so- yeah,
I'm just
we worked
kidding.
with one other guy before, and then he moved on to other studios that could pay him more money. And he's still a good friend of ours. But yeah, we considered like hiring, expanding the team, and at the end of the day, we don't want to be managers. We want to continue making games, and when you start hiring people, that's when you become a manager, and you have to tell people what to do, and you got to be the boss, and we don't really want to do that. So keeping small has helped us survive for sure, and then contracting out work when we need to for things like localization and QA, and now we're actually able to hire more for PR. We're getting PR help now, which has saved my sanity quite a bit.
Yes. Who are you using PR wise, if you don't mind us asking?
We're working with Stride PR right now. They helped us announce and launch on Switch.
Way cool. Stride actually hooked us up with a copy of the Gardens Between, which we're playing tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Excellent.
Sorry. This is only really interesting for me and for other people. Like the amount of PR companies that I chat to and handle. It's always interesting to hear who's working with whom, who's up, who's down, who's charging far too much, and who is really good at what they do. Were you ever tempted to go down the indie publishing route?
Yes, we were tempted.
We've thought about it a little bit, but yeah, never really went anywhere with that. Like on both sides of the side of like working with an indie publisher, and pretty much that extra like percentage chunk that they take out of your revenue was like, you know what, I can fill out forms myself. I don't want to have to pay another X percentage to a publisher. And then we've also thought about since we're in a spot now where we could potentially help out other indies. We've thought about that too, but that hasn't gone anywhere yet. But it's a thought.
Just indie publishers are so cool. That's like the thing, right? Like Devolver
they're the
Digital
cool
is
guys
so
now.
cool, right?
Oh, I know. And why can't they be based somewhere better in the world?
Oh yeah, they're in Texas, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to survive a Texas summer. It would be my undoing.
Oh yeah.
Austin's lovely, but the heat nearly killed me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I do not like extreme weathers too much. Like the weather here in the Northwest is perfect.
Yeah, except for those few weeks where it's stupidly hot in the summer, which
Yeah,
no one told me about.
And on fire.
Yeah, but
And now we're getting summers that are on fire, and
Yeah,
that's not
that
great
happens.
either.
Yeah. The weather in summer is fire.
When everyone told me that Seattle was famous for its grey weather, I didn't think they meant ash from the sky.
Right? In the winter, it's just rain. And then in the summer, it's ashes from the sky.
Yup.
It becomes Silent Hill for a couple months.
It was quite cool. I think it was more pronounced last year, just after PAX, where everything was on fire again, and the moon was like super red, and it's raining ash, and I'm like, this town's finished.
I know, right?
This is really cool atmospherically, but my lungs don't like this.
Yes. One of the few advantages of streaming all the time is that I don't go outside very often, except for when I want to.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, so yeah, indie publishers are very cool, but you also have to wonder what the cost of cool is, and that's kind of thing where it's like if you don't need the extra attention that they can get you, it's probably not worth kind of saddling yourself with whatever whatever they're getting out of you for the rest of your game's life.
One of the reasons I haven't asked you about techniques or about business practices is, if I was observing Ska Studios externally, I would say that you have a very unique position in the industry, that because you've been going so long, just by virtue of the titles you created, you have a very strong user base. So I don't know. That's not something that you can tell an indie developer, being like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just spend 10 years building a really strong and really loyal following."
I know, right? Oh man, dude, I am often just kind of racked by guilt at our position because it's like I
right?
It's what survivor's guilt. No, because like I said, like it was just I ended up really lucking out in the whole Microsoft's launch into indie stuff, and I've been able to ride that for a while. And like people will tell me, well, hey, you made good games, but we all know that's not. And thank you, but we all know that's not the whole picture, right? Like
Yes.
you can make good games, and we were just talking about Pinstripe, which I still haven't checked out, but I will take your word for it. Great game that just like launches and just to nothing,
sell.
right?
Yeah,
and how does that happen? Why does it happen? Like we lucked out, whereas most people don't luck out, and I do feel guilty about it. Because it's not fair, right?
Yes.
But yeah.
One of the most upsetting things to tell, especially new developers, is that I'm sorry, but good games don't sell themselves. That sometimes,
right,
for all intents and purposes, a great project can just become unknown. What was really interesting was hearing you were saying earlier, like one of your titles getting a lot of coverage by Destructoid, and yeah, Destructoid are almost off the map now. It's upsetting.
Oh yeah. They what happened was because I know I mean Jim Sterling, he's doing his own thing now. Was he the fuel of Destructoid? Was that
I don't know, because Jonathan Holmes, there was
that's right.
There was what's his face, who's now over at IGN, the dude with the Ace Ventura haircut who's super dry and super funny.
I don't know who you're talking about. The dude with the Ace Ventura haircut.
He's I think it's Mac someone.
Okay, yeah, and I don't know
There was an exodus of like top tier talent. What's her name? Not Maddie Myers. Maybe Maddie Myers, who was really funny. Who now does fighting game coverage for Kotaku. Lots of people moved elsewhere, and I was never part of the Destructoid family, so to speak. So I don't know if there was any drama or if there was anything. But yeah, sorry, I'm leaning wildly off course.
It's fine.
I would say that using the position that you have to create the kinds of titles that you are doing, I think is good, because one of the things that we've been discussing a lot lately is, aside from the tendency to move towards battleship development, but also by increasing the budgets, by having to worry so much so about survivability, a lot of studios get scared. They make decisions that don't necessarily gel with the kind of games they're looking to make. We were playing Shadow of Mordor last week, and we were discussing the Nemesis system. And what's fascinating going back to that is how much air quotes like AAA design philosophy is put into that game that it absolutely did not need. Like, they could have delivered a sandbox Assassin's Creed game, cut out all the nonsense story, voice acting, subplots, just be, you're a part ghost, part ranger, here's a bunch of orcs that have been randomly generated, go.
Yeah,
I loved all the things that came out of that, like the just all the different personalities the orc leaders would have, and the things that would just emerge as a result of that. It was so fascinating to watch that. I got really, really into that first game.
Oh, hell yeah. And the joke earlier, you were saying how the 50 meg limit used to be on the XNA upload.
Yep.
We were going to play Shadow of War this week to do a comparison. That game is 130 gigs to download on Steam.
Jeez. That's insane. I guess it's all 4K textures, right? Or
probably, and fully voice acted orc genitalia or something. I don't know.
Voice acted genitalia now. This is what a time to be alive.
I would say, but I can't stream it. But the story mode of genital jousting is actually really good.
Is that, it's always curious because that, like, I saw that come up on Steam and I was just like, oh, that's because, I mean, that's always been a question of like where where is Steam's role in monitoring content, like where do they draw their lines.
Yeah,
And
I got to have a sit down with a couple of peeps at PAX, and it's been interesting. It's that whole thing of their heart is most certainly in the right place, but I don't agree with their decision to go heavily algorithmic, because games are such a new medium that it's very difficult to understand what is and isn't okay, because there's so much new content in games as an art form and a lot of subversion that you can't have an algorithm, because the algorithm doesn't have all the data because the games haven't been made yet.
Oh, good point. Yeah, no, that's very good point. Especially because every game that becomes like a breakout hit surprised us because we didn't know what it was going to do. We didn't know why it would be a hit, right? Like you look at like Minecraft or Undertale. It's
God, yeah.
No one knew that they were going to do what they did until they did what they did, and then now we know.
And then it was bombastic.
Yeah.
One of the things Undertale, I think, is a very good example, because from an industry standpoint, if you'd said to anyone, "Yo, we're going to do a game maker title, and it's going to sell millions of copies," they would have enjoyed having a very long maniacal laugh, followed by a, "Oh wait, you're serious," followed by more laughing.
Yep.
Yet here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. I actually haven't played Undertale. Michelle has.
I have not finished it. I think I got to a point where a character told me that the game, you won't be able to go back if you go forward. So I haven't gone forward yet. So I'm kind of stuck at that point.
It's so easy to do that, isn't it? To where it's just
I need to do all the things before I move forward.
Mm-hmm. Spoiling as little as possible. It's entirely worth it. And Undertale's one of those games where the concept of its actual finish is a little bit wibbly wobbly. To finish it properly, you need to go through it twice. But you're not going through it twice. Yeah. It's did either of you get a chance to play One Shot?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now you can do that one in about 4 or 5 hours total, and I wholeheartedly recommend it.
Okay. One Shot.
Rainworld is closer to Salt and Sanctuary in terms of difficulty and pacing. Just telling you now. But One Shot is... The only thing you're going to need to fortify are your feelings.
Okay. Oh.
Man, that's a great sales pitch.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna just be honest that I completely bawled at the end of oh my god, what the heck?
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange, yeah. So
I remember that.
That's where I'm at.
I remember just being like, "Who hurt you?" What happened?
I'll level with you. There have been several actual documented instances of games reducing me to tears on stream, so that's one of the side effects, unfortunately, of doing this full time.
Oh.
We've done a few that, oh boy. So whilst we are waffling on, I'm gonna start booting up Salt and Sanctuary now.
Yeah.
So with the Salt and Sanctuary, there's so many bloody questions. I'm almost a little bit overwhelmed by myself with how much I want to ask you. With a game that has so much environmental storytelling, did you start with was it a grand concept? Did you lock yourselves in a room for like a week and just craft the world? Did it come outwards from small ideas? Please, you gotta tell me what's going on.
Yeah, no, it was
it was a lot more gradual.
Yeah, because
gradual and iterative. I think initially I kept saying it's very, very iterative.
I spent so much of that game just wondering what it would end up being. I knew I wanted to have all the different creeds, the different gods. I wanted to tell that story about just different different cultures, different civilizations who all hold different gods for one reason or another. I wanted to explore that without really knowing where I was going with it. And so it kind of started from there. It started with there's an island full of mystery, and then I was basically just creating content without really knowing where it was going for a while, and a big part of it was just not knowing if that was going to be like how much we were going to invest, time wise into the game. Like it was like, is this working? Is this working? Is this close? Are we doing it? Like what's, where are we at? And yeah, eventually it was like, I think this is going to be our big thing, and then it became time to just start answering more questions, figuring out why these things are connected, and yeah. I don't know exactly. Like I think
it's safe to say that it was an organic process entirely.
Yeah,
that's cool. Guess who forgot to do step one in the XNA install? In the the framework install. So please forgive me if I'm a little bit distracted. So bear with me all just a second. But no, I think it's, from what you've described, I think it's safe to say that it was, growing it from those little parts outwards into this grand world is pretty heckin' rad. And Dr. Pepper Pepsi Pun Guy would like to throw a question at your good selves, if that's okay.
Oh yeah. What's
I see it there. So it's how much hate / salt Kappa did they get for not doing patches or content edition the way Allowed Minority wanted it done?
I think I would have phrased it in the sense of you have a very hardcore following, and how is it been like handling their expectations?
So I guess we can explain more why we don't have DLC. Then, people are going to complain about everything under the sun. Like we get to hear about, you didn't do enough, you did too much. Like from
I don't think anyone said we did too much.
No, I don't mean in terms of like content, but you'll hear both sides of something. Like people want one thing and the other people don't want that thing, so you just kind of have to decide what you want to do. And
live life for yourself, right?
But I think one of the reasons we're not doing DLC is just because a stack of like a house of cards, you don't want to put another card on there and it all crumbles, because it's in somewhat of a precarious state where it's like the game's done and we don't want to break anything at this point.
And another big part is just also there's two of us. We're learning as we go with a lot of development stuff. And prior to Salt and Sanctuary, everything we've done has been an Xbox 360 exclusive. So despite being in an 11-year-old studio, just managing multiple releases, multiple platforms is something we're just very inexperienced at. And so we had we were working on localizations for like a year after, at least a year after the game launched, just localizing new content, or taking the original content and localizing it from new regions, because everyone kept asking us to, and then so that, getting that done, and now it's like, okay, now people want DLC, and it's like, well, wait, now we have like a million platforms, a million different languages. Like if we put DLC out, we'd have to do all that again, and I don't don't know, just like hitting the platforms and the languages was enough of a task. And it's a fair criticism to be like, well, you should hire more people, and like that's a thing we could think about doing. I don't know, but it's it all comes down to like deciding where you want to invest your time and invest your effort, and for us this was like, this was what we chose. And
no, that's understandable. And while it can be very difficult when you have a very, very enthusiastic user base, that sometimes, I'm going to say this because I know a lot of developers can't, users don't know what they want.
That's true too. Yeah.
Right.
If you love a game, it is natural to want more, but there's been so many times where sometimes the addition of more content has actually detracted from it. And we've seen it happen a lot. Sometimes, while the intent is there to add to an experience and the users are so enamored with the game they want more, sometimes smashing those two things together doesn't work. I don't want to name any names because I am definitely not down for being a negative Nelly on other people's titles. But a particular title that springs to mind added post-release content that really empowered the player, like to a ridiculous level. But what it did in the process was completely undermine a large core of the experience. And if you played that game for the first time with that equipment, the game lost all of its luster. It lost all of its power because
Right.
you were an unstoppable killing machine in a world where you should have been terrified and afraid.
Right. That's totally valid.
Yeah, people talk a lot about the old days with expansions and campaign packs and things like that. But so many games I know where the additional content added in those, one, the campaign was pretty terrible, and two, the stuff it added to the base game kind of hecked it up. But those things get forgotten in the annals of time.
Sure.
Yep.
No, that's valid too. Yeah, I mean, it's there are a number of things that can go wrong anytime you try to do anything. So, yeah, that's just game development.
Yeah, and I do apologize for all this waffling back and forward.
It's okay. Is XNA redist stuff getting weird?
No, I had a complete brain fart moment where I couldn't remember where programs and features were. And every time I was asking Windows 10 where Program Manager is, it was like, do you want to search Bing for the term Program Manager? I'm like, fucking no! I want to play Sub Sanctuary! Oh my god!
That's the worst part about Windows 10.
It is.
It's invaded your search bar. I'm using Windows 8 on my development machine, and I have with Classic Shell, it just looks like Windows 7, so it's just fine.
Oh.
But then I have Windows 10 on I have a Surface, and I always forget about it. You go into the search bar, and it's like your search bar. They've let the internet into your start menu, and it's so weird to me. I haven't gotten used to it.
I don't want them there. I want them to go away. Please don't.
Right?
Please don't come in here. This isn't an open space.
It's not. No.
Right. So I've cleared out the old XNA because there was like 2-3 versions in there. Let me just quickly install the one that I need to and go from there. And yeah, I do apologise for doing this on the fly. It's been a very busy week. It's
fine.
Everyone's being subjected to some bleep bloops coming straight out of the Windows shell. Now.
Oh, okay. That's why I can't hear them, because we're in Discord and I have Twitch muted.
Yeah, so you don't have to listen to my sorry self multiple times.
Yeah, we do we do like a D&D stream every Monday, and I always forget. It's like first thing I have to do is mute the stream while I'm streaming, because otherwise, hear my own voice, and I'm just like, ugh.
Not
who
that
could
guy.
Listen to this. Yeah, this is there is no joy here.
Yeah. While I'm better with listening to my own voice than I used to. There's nothing worse than having to edit videos of your own voice and realizing how many horrible audio tics that you have in a conversation.
Ooh. Yeah,
So-
I can imagine.
While I've been waffling, so I do apologise to Greenfire because they threw a couple of, albeit classic, classic questions at us. They are good ones. The first one up earlier was: has there been a particular level in? We'll go with Salt and Sanctuary, but in any of the titles that you have really enjoyed creating.
Level enjoyed creating. Honestly, let's see. I really like the Still Palace. Just because of everything about it. Otherwise, let's see. Like making the Red Hall of Cages was fun because it just sprawls forever. Like I had
so big.
I had a rough. Boy, I wonder. I guess there's no video, so I can't just. But we did a GDC talk, and I think I had the picture up on the GDC talk. I had like a rough map of just of just what the world of Salt and Sanctuary would be like when I started making the game. I just had like the beach walk up to the fortress, and that was it. It was just, I had no idea what the whole world was going to look like. And really, if you look at it from like making a thing in a 2D space, like I was starting in the top left corner of what would be the world. It's just when you're writing, you start in the top left corner. So I just started there, and as I was kind of fleshing the creating monsters and bosses and just seeing where it all fit. At some point, on just some sketch paper, I was just like, okay, let's just flesh out a whole world. Like, what can we put here? Let's do some sort of like a dome, pyramid, dungeon, caves, and all of these were just very, very generic ideas. And the whole thing was like, okay, later I'll figure out what they mean, you know,
Yeah,
why
and then
they're
that just kind of expanded outwards from there.
yeah. And yeah, like the dungeon was like on my sketch paper. It was a lot smaller, and then when I ended up putting everything in you know together in space, like the dungeon ended up it had to occupy a lot more space, so it became just sprawling. And yeah, I it was
That's
a
super cool.
good area. Yeah, the red hall.
So
Um,
so art style wise, I noticed that there's more, and I don't mean this by any means as a criticism of prior titles, but Salt and Sanctuary has the strongest cohesion of art style throughout. Again, was that something that happened organically? Did you sit down and give yourself like a style guidelines there? I'd be really interested to know.
no, we don't have a good process. Yeah, no, it's just it was just a lot of just you know that's how I draw. Uh,
It's all good.
yeah, I don't know. You know, much to Michelle's chagrin, probably, because it's just like I'll just start drawing things, and Michelle's like, "This doesn't match that," and I'm just like, it's okay, we'll fix it in post." But yeah, I mean, we just kind of went, and you know, that's yeah. I wonder, is there any I know there's like a sort of parchment filter that goes on all the actually yeah there's the parchment filter, and then there's
Okay.
also I kind of did like a watercolor filter on all the all the you know map tile pieces, so that was I don't know cohesive.
That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't honestly I'm you know it's like this is gonna be the recurring theme. I never know what I'm doing. You know, I'm just always just trying things, seeing what sticks. I mean, like as we speak, I'm working on a new game, and I'm just trying to see what sticks. You know, just throwing stuff in there and trying to make it look good. And yeah,
That's super
there
cool.
there is no method to this madness.
Uh, So, you lovely folks, we've got these lovely developers for at least another half an hour. So, if you've got stonkingly good questions, like now is the time to bust them out. For those of you that have just joined us, we are chatting with Ska Studios, a husband and wife power couple who have been kicking out awesome games as a team for 7 years, as a studio for over a decade. Let me just link you all the Ska Studios game back catalogue, because no doubt it will contain some titles you have heard of. I apologise that I've gone quiet. I am desperately trying to troubleshoot whatever stupid I have not done to get Salt and Sanctuary running on this rig.
Oh man,
That is on me, and I apologise if I'm not being my usual badass hosting self. So yeah, you all got questions. Now is the time. Do not hesitate. Do not hold back. You bring your best.
boy, it's funny because this was kind of like a nightmare. It's like you go on a stream and the game just doesn't work, but it's actually not that bad now that it's happening.
For
You know, yeah, it's all right.
Well,
I think
also
it's the
it's
same.
not crapping out. It's just doing the thing where it pops up and then closes immediately. It means it's one of only a handful of potential problems.
Huh.
It's just a case of trying to troubleshoot them and carry a conversation simultaneously.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Uh,
similar question to the last one: do you have a favorite boss and why?
Me?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh well, I mean,
Both
guess
of us,
to
I
you,
suppose.
to you both.
Hmm. Hmm.
I like the last boss.
I
think
doubt
I like.
people are going to see that today, so feel free to talk about it. There's no way I'm making it to the boss in a day.
I mean,
Sure.
I really like the Queen of Smiles. Doesn't Baldhusk I like just thematically. He's really an interesting like puppet master kind of character. I like that. And then my lady Murdiela Mal.
Indeed, that's the lass from your business card as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I know. We found out, much to our chagrin later, that Venture Brothers has murder flies. I never really got into it, but yeah, there was Michelle's had a character she made up forever ago that she likes called the murder fly, and
Yeah, we keep doing different renditions of the murder fly each game. So I think it started with Vampire Smile. There was the murder fly boss,
Yeah.
and then I don't think Charlie Murder really had anything except the like the beach scene after the pirate ship. There's two murder flies floating around by the barbecue,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then this Salt and Sanctuary. There's Murdiella Mal. That's the murder fly.
The queen of the murder flies.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Um,
that's a little unfair, but you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
I'm desperately trying to find where the .NET Framework install is, so I can uninstall that, so I can reinstall your version, so I can remember how in the bloody hell I am doing this. If I seem a little distracted, one and all, although whilst I was rolling my face against varying Windows menus, Element Cry asked possibly the most important question of the day, which is: would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
the old mainstay.
Mainstay. Nice.
But yeah, I don't know.
Well, would you rather fight 100 child-sized adults or one adult-sized child?
Ew.
I
Jeez.
think like,
I'd go for the latter one. I feel that the child-sized, the adult-sized child would be easier to discombobulate and confuse. You know, I've got to get by on my smarts. I am not a fighter by any means.
I still feel like fighting a single unit would still be easier than 100 of a thing.
Yeah, and horses are quick. Like maybe you could get them all with like one big ass sweeping kick, but that's not easy by any means.
Horses are terrible. They'll mess you up.
See, I was thinking if it's duck-sized horses, you could kind of just sort of sweep kick them. You know, you just go like you're kicking up leaves, right?
Oh yeah,
But
just go for like a
thing is
swoosh.
a lot though.
Yeah, but if it's a horse-sized duck, it could bite your head off.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like the little ones. They can't bite your head off.
Oh, and they can potentially fly.
True. And see, the thing is, a
big
duck
one.
is just a goose. It's just a goose without the powers. Like I feel that ducks would become geese level asses given the strength.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
So ducks are only assholes to each other, whereas geese are assholes to everybody else.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
not
I feel
not
like
a fan of geese.
that would change. Like that would change if they had the option.
They had the power.
Yeah, I think that they would have no qualms in bringing death and destruction to the many houses.
Oh, someone on our Reddit MMA or AMA. Oh my god.
It got.
The MMA. We fought each other. No. Someone asked a similar question that was like, would you rather fight? Like I forget what the big item was, but it was like one giant spindle beast or 100 smaller. I think it was Bloodless Prince. He said. Would you rather fight?
Considering the whole thing would be a massive no, whoa! Bloody hell. Right. So, I think I have the correct. Okay, so Microsoft for .NET installation. Let's get me one of those because I think I'm doing it. Thank you for padding out the time, and I can only apologise profusely for being more than a little bit incompetent for getting this running.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, I bet there's been AMAs on the Reddit MMA too, and that would just get really confusing and be like the MMA AMA.
The Amama. Amama.
Mama.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, geese are terrible things. Although there was a game that was around the corner from us at PAX that was the Untitled Goose Game, and I'm all here for it.
Oh yes, I've been wearing the badge of Untitled Goose Game like a badge of honor, and having a bloody good time of it. People have been asking me like, what is your problem with geese? I'm like, have you seen them?
Have you been around geese before? They're terrible.
Geese
they are the worst. Oh.
Like I can prove it with science.
Right? Oh man. Yeah, we were like going for a walk one day, and there was like this like break in the fence, where I guess I don't maybe I bet that's what it was for, but we didn't really think about it at all. But is this like break in the fence,
Yeah.
like a deliberate break in the fence, and like there was just like a kind of field, and just like a gang of geese just like are walking along in the field. And we're just like, oh look, some geese are going, and the geese like they turn and just start heading straight toward us to the break in the fence, and they
They know.
stop like maybe 20 feet away, and they're just like staring at us like, how dare you? And then at some point, like they started getting like more bold, like walking closer, like being like, "This is our break in the fence. This is how we go through. This is where we're going." You know?
People are here. We're gonna mess up your kneecaps. So
Yeah, yeah. And we were just like,
yeah,
we should
I was like,
probably
you know
go.
what? I already have an injured kneecap. I need to leave right now
Yep.
because I don't want them pecking out my kneecap further.
Like just having like a 20 angry geese all staring at you all at once it's kind of a singular feeling. And I was a little scared. A little scared.
We've all been there.
Yeah, there were these really horrible looking geese at this lake that there's a lake nearby that we went to do some stand-up paddleboarding, and then there's the geese that there's like one entrance into the water on that side of the lake, and there are these two I think they were like white American geese with the giant like orange beak hump on the top of their noses, and they were just like honking at everybody who was trying to get into the water, just like being the biggest geese bullies. And it's like, you have the entire lake, why are you at this particular part of the lake yelling at everybody who tries to come in?
Oh, of course, the video that says how to fix this problem has been removed. God damn it!
Oh no.
I apologise. I do apologise, one and all.
Wait, I wonder, I should try running this on Windows 10, see what happens. Because I've run it on my laptop before.
I'm
right?
using Windows 10 and it works, but
Okay.
you know, I've been doing
So, giving me
it for a while.
Right. I mean, I know it's like in a perfect world, this would never happen.
Oh, of course. There's also a very large possibility that this is being caused by an NVIDIA GeForce Experience third party, which, if I find it and it is the cause, I'm going to beat it to death with my shoe, which is actually the mystical sword. Yeah, I don't know if I'm I don't know how many content creators you do videos with, but I am one that has a mystical sword. That is actually canon.
Okay. You're not getting like an error message or something, are you?
No, it's just the just immediate close.
Okay. Because yeah, if it's a crash that I can do something with, there'd be like an error message that, unless the error reporting is broken too. But
I don't believe that is the case. It is not providing me with. It is not providing me with a thing. So I was having a look in the local file, see if it was producing like a crash log or anything like that, but it does not appear to be the case. So I'm just trying to see if this GeForce thing is doing a problem, and if so, how do I stab it?
I mean, this stream it'll be a record for something, right? I mean, that's
quite possibly. And my lot is saying error Viking detected, Salt and Sanctuary .axe not found.
Yeah.
Oh, I could do an axe build for this one. Just go full Viking.
I like axes.
I
think if there's like I tried to love all the weapons equally, but was I not crazy about any? I don't think I wasn't crazy about magic builds, just because that kind of runs against like the combat design, like against combos and stuff. But I think that ended up working against the intention, because axes they end up being magic ends up being overpowered, because I just didn't give it enough attention, At some point, I nerfed Dragonfire. I got the worst hate mail from it. It was really weird. It was like someone. It was on.
Do tell.
Yeah. On PS4, someone was just like it was this email. I mean, it was actually very very like passive aggressive. It was like, I want to thank you for just taking away what used to be an okay game and just making it trash or something. It was like thank you for making it so I never have to play your game again. Have a
Wow.
good life. Yeah, right. It was weird.
It's not the worst hate mail we've gotten, but
It was the worst hate
it
mail
was
for like
interesting.
a debuff. Yeah. Or a nerf. That's the word. So it was the worst nerf related hate mail. It does make me wonder how say like Blizzard with Overwatch, like who reads the hate mail they receive.
I see. I'm not currently a community manager by trade, but that's what I've spent most of my career doing, and we always joke because we're essentially the Night's Watch for a large studio.
Yeah, right.
Our job is to be the the sword in the dark, the watcher in the wall. If we do our jobs right, the developers of games like Overwatch will never really know what it's like out there. We stand guard on the wall.
Yeah, no, that's noble, right? It makes sense.
We will take no lands and we will father no children. We will.
Yeah, night falls and so my watch begins.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's life.
It's. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings on this one. I like that our industry is one of the most passionate. Like, not only the people who play games, but also the people who make them are incredibly passionate about it. And I think that's why we see it so pronounced, because whenever developers show how really, truly keen they are for games as a medium, or even for their own titles, it resonates so well with people. But it also stirs up a fervor. There's a disconnect between the love of a game and the amount of life and effort it takes to bring those things into existence. And sometimes those two don't marry very well.
Sometimes. Yep. Nope.
Time.
I feel you.
I do have to apologise. I'm not having any joy getting this to run. I'm looking at a few things. I don't appear to have that NVIDIA GeForce bollocks installed. Sorry, at this point, one and all, there are going to be cussing from me because I dislike having my system fight against me.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if it doesn't work, it still kind of feels like my fault. But I mean, if you tell me it's not, I'll take it. I'll accept that.
Oh, it is absolutely not your fault. As the host of this operation, it is my job to test this stuff ahead of time, make sure it's working. For this one, I'd already played through a lot of this.
It's on a different machine, I guess.
Yes. Now it's possible that Windows has bundled in the .NET framework stuff into something else. So I don't appear to be able to uninstall that individually. I've tried reinstalling it, and Windows is informing me that it's part of another update and that I shouldn't need to do the thing.
Oh, fun.
Metal Nutter with full OS reinstall. Yeah, let's work out how we can stream that. I'll just get my phone. You can watch me blue screen Ket's computer. So I am not having a whole bunch of luck right now. If there is anything that you can recommend, aside from the XNA, aside from reinstalling the XNAFX 4 and .framenet, I am all ears. I'm physically all ears.
Literally.
It's literally, figuratively, all of the ears.
I don't know. Honestly, what I would do with like tech support kind of stuff, so often what would happen, like I would just go through our Steam. I haven't looked in a while because I kind of figured the game's it's settled enough. But I would look at our I would just go through all the top posts of issues, and I would Google the exception that they had, like the error message, and then I would find that thing solved on a different game that used the XNA framework on Steam. So like a lot of times it was Fez or a virus named Tom, or Bastion.
Oh.
Like all of those games are XNA framework games.
Oh God, that's probably what. Poor Fez.
Oh, I mean, the guy's probably a multi-millionaire. He's doing all right. Or you mean because there was no sequel, or the sequel was
Oh, I mean, it had a very, very troubled development, so far as I understand. And while it did do well when the time came, It does seem as if it does seem as if he was not ready for the internet.
Oh no, yeah. Yeah. It was weird. I've never met him, and then at E3 one year, I saw a guy come up and play a game next to our game.
Yeah.
He was playing. It was actually Cosmic Star Heroine that he was playing. It's not. It's hero. You know, it's such an unfortunate word. Heroine, like ending with an E.
Yes.
As opposed, yeah. You know that? Have you heard of it? It's by the developers of like they did like the pixel art Penny Arcade Reigns like Precipice of Darkness ones like 3 and
the
4. I
same
think.
peeps that did Cthulhu Saves the World.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Z-Boyd.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Robert and Bill.
Mhm.
And yeah, so they were doing this game Cosmic Star Heroine, and I forget. I think there was like something about they got in. They had some interaction with him on Twitter. I thought that, and it wasn't super positive or something. But anyway, so a guy came up to play Cosmic Star Heroine, and his name tag said Philippe Poisson, which I've heard is actually Phil Fish's real name. You know, Phil Fish is the Fez developer, but he didn't look like the man from the movie. You know. Or maybe he was like a different height from what I expected or something, and then that threw it all off. I don't know, but that's maybe the closest I came to meet him. And then I guess he kind of just exited the games industry and is a DJ now. But I think he made a ridiculous amount of money on Fez, so you know, you can do that, right? You can just be like, you know what, I'm done with the game. It's gonna be a DJ.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Okay.
Although. Yes, there was one other individual who did something very similar and who turned out to be a very bad person when he spoke on Twitter a lot. So there we go. I've only met Phil very, very briefly, and it was not enough to draw a conclusion of him as a gentleman or an individual.
What about a DJ?
As in Phil Fish, and he was actually DJing that very evening.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Okay.
So, Isacrid, thank you kindly for offering tech support on this one. I am not getting any error messages. That is the weirdness of this. I am running it, and it is immediately closing. Which
yeah, I can't say I've encountered that one, and
which is
boy.
why I wholeheartedly believe that it is something going on here. So
like I said, this is like it's been a nightmare of mine, but it's actually it's not that bad. You're the one who's like kind of sweating it. I'm just kind of hanging out, and
the thing is,
I feel kind of I feel that like I want our game to work. You know?
The thing is, what I really wanted from today was to bring both of you on to chat about your experiences and to talk a lot about, you know, the industry as it is now versus the industry as it is then, like your path through, because your story is incredibly important. It's something that I would rather teach people the tale of Ska Studios than another one of those like, here's how to run a super duper campaign. Because
no, this is great. I'm actually it's much less stressful that you're not playing the game right now too. And I totally mean that, because watching people play the game, I start to think about what I would have done differently if I could make the whole thing, you know, just start all over again.
Yeah, in the words of Cher, if I could turn back time.
Oh, every day. It's just, yeah. But no, that's no. Sorry, I mean, this is totally fine. That's totally fine. The only, you know, it's obviously it would be nice if if the game ran.
Of course,
but
of course. And the thing is, like, the Salt and Sanctuary is such a wonderful game that, you know, once this is resolved, it's something that I've been wanting to show everybody and have an excuse to go back and play. Mole for Maffet is like, thanks for sharing that one with us.
Hey. Oh, Mole.
My life, they love their puns. They love their puns. And again, I don't want to keep putting the petticoats on and being an industry bitch, but survivability and sustainability is an important part of game development, and you're both incredibly modest individuals, and that's especially on the business side of things. But I don't feel I can draw too fine a point under the fact that you kept your team small, you have kept your focus cohesive. I was about to say Charlie Danger again. Bloody hell! Now I've said it wrong. It's stuck in my head.
It's all right.
But I mean, by your admission, Charlie Murder did not sell very well. There are so many teams we know who have done something good, then done something interesting, but have bet the farm on it and then died, and never made another game.
Yeah.
We've seen it happen so many times. But you made Charlie Murder. It didn't hit the targets you were hoping, but you're still here. And we got Salt and Sanctuary. If Charlie Murder had sunken Ska, we wouldn't have gotten this. Like,
Right.
True. Yep.
and when you start talking about it like that, the importance of how you have operated over the years becomes much more profound. I mean, I'm looking at Quantic Dreams at the moment. Quantic Dreams are currently one of my biggest. Will's had a pint in him, so now he's going to bitch about the games industry. Because they're making an Alan Wake TV show.
Oh.
Strange.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what they've wanted to do forever though? Isn't that like, I swear I've heard that's been their thing. Like someone, like the owner or something, he's always wanted to do TV instead of games, right? Isn't that a?
I mean, possibly. It's just, I mean, I find it really annoying because it's, television's a money sink. And okay, personally, and this, I do not expect anyone else to back me up on this opinion. This is a Will opinion, but video games are an incredible art medium, which we are by no means at the top of the mountain for. The way in which you can deliver an experience and a story to someone, we're still learning. You mentioned Dark Souls earlier. I mean, and its environmental storytelling blew everybody away in the terms that people would actually go in depth and find all these stories.
Right.
Yeah.
No one,
Yeah.
like, television's television. It's getting a bit better in terms of how it's delivered, like, a narrative overall arc rather than, like, lots of syndicated episodes. But it's still just telly. Telly's not going to evolve. You're just going to sit and watch it, done. Games are such an exciting artistic medium. And, yeah. The idea of creating something like Alan Wake and then wanting to make television is like stepping backwards. The idea of someone saying, I'm making games, but really I want to make TV, that I find offensive, and that's why I give Quantic Dream such a hard time.
It is really strange, and it kind of makes the idea of video game movies interesting too. Like, I think that the Silent Hill movie was successful until the ending. It was kind of a mix of Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 2, and Silent Hill 2 was so successful and like such an amazing game for the time, and it still holds up to an amount, like not really the graphics, of course, but just the puzzles and the storytelling was so amazing, and there was so much more to it than just like the game that you would play through. There were all these little hidden things of like, what the heck is even going on here? And then the movie came out and it was visually amazing. The cinematography was really great. The monsters are great, but then they just spoon feed you the entire like what's happening at the end of it, and
Yes.
it's so disappointing when movies do that to try to reach more audiences. And like, I get why they do it. It's, you want to make money,
Yeah.
you want more people to absorb it, but it takes away from the artistry of it.
You didn't like the little girl going like, "Here's what happened next," but Alyssa was bad, and like,
Oh my gosh, right?
oh, it was so
You did
cringe.
so well, Rose. Let me tell you the whole story now.
Oh man, yeah,
I mean,
brutal.
Let's also add that the reason why the Silent Hill movie wasn't as good as potentially the game is that they didn't show the true ending, which is the dog ending, which is we all know is the canon ending of
You
Silent
gotta
Hill
have
2.
that.
I don't think I've ever gotten the dog ending. I know all about it, and I've
Takes
played.
it takes a lot of work to get it.
Right.
I like YouTube now. You can just go to YouTube, be like, UFO ending. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it used to be. Wait, is there a UFO and a dog ending, or is it just the same?
Oh no, they're the same. The dog's controlling the
Okay.
UFO. Well, no,
That's
UFO,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Wait, no, wasn't UFO the first one and dog ending was the second one?
Oh, okay, but it's the second one was like UFO/dog ending, kind of.
I'm at the verify integrity of game files stage, so we are busting this one out.
Oh man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, something went sideways in the install. So,
Oh.
thankfully, my internet here is very good. So hopefully, I didn't screw it up by trying to fix it. If you know what I mean. I apologise. I lost my train of thought there. Yes, but that's why I said I don't expect anyone to come with me on this opinion because it's quite diversive. And I did a stint in film and television. It was my first proper job, like outside of like retail and customer service, was working in film and telly, and it is a brutal industry, and there are very few people within that industry that really care about the medium. Whereas in games, everybody loves games. Maybe don't all have as much time to play them, but
it is, and it is super weird when you meet someone in games who does not like games, because it kind of happens here and there where they're just like, yeah, I don't really play anything.
Yeah, they're mostly. It's funny, like it's mostly like the lawyers and the businessy types.
Oh, they're the worst.
You know,
people who drink at the W at GDC. There, I said it. I fucking said it.
I know, right? We know.
No, it was strange at my last job before this whole big indie thing at the AAA studio we were mentioning. There were people there who were the creatives. They weren't like the business side of it, that never played the game they were working on. And it was so weird to me that, okay, so you're like, people would kill for this job to be an artist here at the studio, and you don't even give a crap about the game itself, but you're making art for it. How does this make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yes!
Are we?
Oh my god!
Oh my god! We're there.
Sorry, I think I just shattered everyone's ears there, and I bopped my earphones out. I'm really sorry. I'm a consummate professional.
I was just starting to believe that our game didn't even exist anymore. You know, just like was it all a dream? Maybe not. But let's say yes.
I just need to turn the audio down a whole bunch so it doesn't drown out your lovely, lovely selves.
Aw. Which, you know, I mean, speaking of, like, kind of going back to this whole, like, the luckiness of getting into this industry, I do often wonder if it is just going to turn out to be, like, a weird simulation or something. Yeah. You know? I mean, Lords of the Simulation, if you hear me, I am on to you. Nothing?
Well,
Still here? Okay.
I got good news and I got bad news.
Oh boy.
The good news is the game is working entirely. The bad news is that this is absolutely by no means a fever dream, because some of the stuff that happens on this channel has been clipped even outside of your presence, and I say this with love and respect to you both, but there is no way that you lot have dreamed up some of the hinky stuff that has happened over here. So
okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's working. Right, let me just move us over. Bloody hell, and talk about perfect bloody timing. So it turns out that for whatever reason the title did not download everything as required. So, you know, can't fix it all.
Was that so is it working?
No, so the game is working wholeheartedly. It looks like it was actually a Steam issue. For whatever reason, the first download did not download everything. I want to apologise to everyone whose ears just got blown off. Javier was just saying, I had my earphones off my head, and all I heard was "Ah!" and some screaming.
And now you've done it again.
Welcome to the party, pal.
That's funny.
So I'm gonna just start getting everything set up, because what I'll do is, once your lovely selves have gone, I'm gonna get a tea break, breathe for a second before we launch into a phenomenal game. Right. So if you have any questions for our lovely Ska Studio peoples, now is the time to bust them out. All right, because I believe I need to let your lovely selves go in a second for businessy business things.
Businessy business. Yeah, the businessy business shouldn't go on for too long. I imagine we could like come back and just like chat in the chat if that works.
Yes, of course. I will try not to say anything too wrong while I'm going. So if you do join us later on, feel free to correct me if I'm saying stuff. But that would be lovely. And jumping back to what you were saying just before I got everything working, it is like working in video games is a job. Like I don't want to undersell that. And anyone who ever tells you that line of, if you love your job, you never work a day, it's a lie. It's a dirty lie. If you love your job, you will work all of the days, all of the time.
Yeah,
I will work all of them.
There was
so much. There was a comic.
Yeah, going around on Facebook.
Yeah,
I saw that.
It was like someone saying like, "Oh, you're so lucky. You don't have to work a day in your life." And then the creative is like, "No, you don't understand. I have to work so much, like so many more hours, like 80 hours a week. It's insane." And then the other person says something like, "Well, then, do you still like it?" It's like, "Yes, of course I do. This is amazing."
Yeah. Duh.
Right. Yeah, like, oh, why don't you quit? Because I love this.
Because it's a terrible amount of work, but it's amazing. So
oh god, yeah,
it's still work, but it's great.
And just having the opportunity to be in an industry where everyone gives as much of a heck about your stuff as you do. I will admit there are some projects I've worked on where I don't think I could go back and enjoy the video games, but I played the hell out of them when I was working on them. There's some that I can. Chronofire is asking if there is a Viking class. I think we're going to try and do a Viking build in this one, yeah. We can definitely make a character with the ginger hair and everything, because I did that last time. Yeah, I'm modest like that.
Nice.
Yeah, I think we have a few red hair color options too. I made sure
to
try to do that.
Yeah. It's funny because like the kind of like one of the major sort of theme inspirations for this was the Iron Islands and Song of Ice and Fire, which are basically Viking world.
What is dead may never die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they made them more Yorkshire than Viking in the TV show. I'm not bitter, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, you must know the American way is it becomes a soup.
Yeah.
It becomes a soup of misunderstanding and just broad brushes.
on the plus side, though, all the gingers ended up being north of the wall, which is kind of cool.
Oh, sorry, you cut out.
All the gingers ended up being north of the wall, so that's where they put us.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. They did, didn't they?
Oh, lordy. I'm sorry, I'm still just on a feckin' happy up from getting that fixed, yo.
Yeah, that's boy, that was a process, and we made it through together.
Yeah. As I said, what it looks like is that it was a partial technical. It was definitely a technical issue on my end. Steam didn't download the full all of the packet. Not packets. God, I need a coffee.
Package.
Yes, all the packages.
Something like that, yeah.
Because I was going through the fix, and it wasn't until I was looking through the Reddit fixed post that I noticed that the XNA framework stuff, or the Microsoft framework stuff, the installs for that should have been in the Salt and Sanctuary folder, and I'm like, wait, they're not here. And yeah, just ran the verify cache, and it's like, yeah, there's like 130 things you don't have. Oh, cheers, Steam. You didn't think I was going to need those the first time? No, it's cool. It's cool. It's fine.
Thanks, Steam.
Yeah. Iron Imp was asking on terms of the animations if you've got time for a quick technical question. Iron Imp was asking that in approach to developing the animation, did you use a kind of skeletal 2D motion graphic system for some of the environmental entities and characters and NPCs?
Yes. Yes.
This is our first game with an actual skeletal system.
Yeah. So I have a skeletal animation tool that I actually we're gonna keep going back in time. I made it for it was basically what made Dishwasher Dead Samurai possible.
Yeah.
Like each character. So in Dishwasher Dead Samurai, like the bodies were made up of so few pieces, like the legs, like including like the waist, thigh, calf, ankle, feet, whatever. Those were just, it was one one image was legs, so there would be like standing, run 1, run 2,
Yeah.
crouched, whatever. And then with Salt and Sanctuary, it's like the same tool I used as from Dishwasher Dead Samurai, but it's been improved over and over the years. And so actually now it's like you have it's so much more articulated. Like you'll have thigh, calf, foot.
Hang on a hecking second. Element was saying the skeletal animation tool is in his book. Did you write a book?
I wrote a book.
Wrote a book.
Yeah, it's not very good, but it's
I think you can still find it on Amazon. It's very outdated. It's from like one of the first
you can
versions. But
if you can find a PDF of it, and I guess I can't. I have authority to tell you that you can pirate it because the publisher is the one that could sue you if you pirated it. But like, I don't think they're gonna sue you, and I'm not gonna have a problem with it. So if you can find like a PDF of it or something, just go for it. But yeah, I wrote a book on it was because it was back when XNA was hot, we're still talking about this this dead XNA, but at some point it was hot, and A Press saw that I had won a contest, and they were like, you seem like you're worth something, so they gave me a small, and also because I was just kind of broke from I spent like a year working on Dishwasher after I won the contest, but before I saw like a single dime out of it. So it was basically just going through any savings I had, and then I was borrowing money from my parents, and A Press gave me a small advance to write a book, and all factored in, it probably wasn't worth it.
Oh,
like,
no.
that's a better link there. Yeah.
Yeah, but every now and then, like, so I guess it was monetary standpoint, but it was in terms of like people are still just like that book you wrote, like it gave me some ideas
that
about.
Link did not work for me.
Oh no, damn it! Why is that not doing the thing? Anyway, the thing that I wanted to add on the end of that is that one thing we've seen a lot of when we saw the resurgence of kind of retro styles was that everything that is old is new again. Thank you, Shell. Like there is a school of people coming up who are currently learning how to create like parallax environments and things like that. Techniques that were born out of necessity that have now become stylistic choices.
Isn't that funny?
It is. It's crazy, and I mean we saw it most with a title called Else Heartbreak, that leaned wholeheartedly into the PlayStation 1 like early low poly aesthetic, and we're seeing a lot of cool stuff from that. So I think that while maybe the direct techniques of developing an XNA might not be as valid now, like the style of that kind of like 2D skeletal system and the for lack of a better term that traditional post Newgrounds flavor, whereas the Behemoth has moved more into like almost classic animation style. Your skeletal system is more evocative of the higher, like a super high quality version of that, if you don't mind my saying.
Yeah, I'll take it. I would try to reduce anything that would make me sound good at anything, because that's just my nature. but yeah, I'll take it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean the skeletal thing, like that's worked really well for this, because it's so much. I probably would be no good at just animating by hand in terms of like going from one drawing to the next. A great example of someone who is good at that is again Dean Dodrill, Dust and Elysian Tale. Like he hand animated so much because he's a trained animator, and so it's really amazing to see the things he can do. And a little like self-serving something or other here is he actually got into development from my book.
That's super cool.
So I mean, not like into like he was on the cusp, but he was just like, how do I go from zero to making a game? And so I think he used like some of the systems that I had in my book to in Dust, which is like So he emailed me at some point when I was like after I'd done my book, and then like I think I was at some point working on Dead Samurai or near the end or something, and he emailed and just was like, hi, I read your book, I'm learning how to make a game, and you know, I'm just thinking like, oh boy, let's see what we got here. And he sent me an animation from this game in progress, and I'm just like, okay, you know, how do I like this guy down gently, like, wow, good job, keep at it someday. And like I open the animation, I'm just like, oh my, like he's actually like, look at what a person with talent can do.
Yeah.
You know, it's like take a guy who's just like an incredible animator and like give him the tools to put them into a game, and like
And
he
then
just
enjoy.
oh my gosh, right, it was incredible. I was just like, how did you make this art from my nonsense? How did you do this? You know, it was really cool to see.
Yeah. I guess a completely fluffy question before we have to let you both go. Have you considered doing any animated trailer type stuff? Because I don't know if you've seen the Dead Cells animated trailer, but it is one of my favourite things. And there's a little part of my heart that's like, if you could, would you?
Oh, I haven't seen the trailer. Is like professionally 3D animated, or not 3D, but like anime style animated? Or...
Yeah, and it's really good.
I bet it is. Those guys are freaking just oozing talent. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. But yeah, no, I should check it out. I got really hooked on Dead Cells for like a pretty like restricted amount of time. It was like 2 or 3 days when just like I would like get up and just play Dead Cells like more like, you know, dusk till dawn, and then just do it all again the next day, and then the next day, and then eventually I was like, I kind of hit a wall, and I was like,
yeah,
enough for now. You know, it's just, but yeah, that game is beautiful and
It
just
really
so well put together.
So how much longer do I have your lovely company for?
Probably like another 3 minutes here would be good.
Yeah,
Okay.
do you want to? Yeah.
Well, so then let's get all the businessy stuff. I believe you just dropped a version of Salt and Sanctuary on the Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
Yep, last month, beginning of August, we came out on Switch, and now we're sort of trying to get out. Still working on the bits and pieces for the Switch Physical Edition, which is coming out in October. So this will be our first like physical full release, like out. You can go buy it at I wanted to say EB Games, GameStop.
EB Games, we're bringing
oh
it back.
My gosh, GameStop. It's on Amazon. You can pre-order it all right now.
I mean,
but
they've still got EB's still got a presence back in Australia and New Zealand. So you know,
really?
It exists out in the colonies.
Oh boy, I keep forgetting that's actually like a term that you folks use at the colonies, right? Is it in jest or in earnest? It's in jest, right?
A little from column A, a little from column B. Bloody colonials.
Yeah, right. Who knows? To next.
Bloody colonists.
I'm also wondering what. Yeah. Anyway.
Alrighty. So, I can't say this enough. Thank you both for taking time to come on over and answer questions, hang out, like shoot the breeze, talk about video games. If you would like to, you are both cordially welcome to come on back. In a second, I'm just going to go refresh my teacup and then get properly set into Salt and Sanctuary. We're going to make a Viking. We're going to kick some ass. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having us. This has been fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, it was marred by some technical issues.
Oh, are you kidding me? We had like a 3-act play of an interview. That was amazing.
Yeah, no, I had a good time. I honestly, this was more fun for me not having to watch you play our game that I have personally played for thousands of hours and watch people play for you know, at least hundreds of hours at PAX and such. And every time I watch someone play, I get a little bit stressed out. So this has been this has been just fine for me, because yeah, this is fun. We got to chat. I got to air my grievances about Peter Molyneux, and you know,
Hey.
who
Which is always a good day.
really I hope the best for him, and I hope the best for anyone who's devoted amounts of their life to working for him, and
Indeed. I worked with him for a little bit, and he was certainly a character, that's for certain. It was actually my first paid industry job. I got a summer job working for Lionhead, and it was
Really? How about that? Small work. That's like the craziest thing about the industry is how small it is. It's a massive industry, and yet everyone knows someone who knows who you know, or yeah. I tried to like deliver a nice witticism, and it just kind of fell flat. But you get what I meant.
I get entirely what you mean, and I've been failing at being witty for most of the morning.
You've been doing great. We're all great. We're great people, right?
Who knew?
I gotta turn this self-deprecating humor around. We're awesome. You rock, Michelle. You rock. Let's keep rocking.
You rock.
You rock.
You rock.
Go team!
Go team.
Go team.
So yeah, Chad is saying a bunch of lovely things. Tyler's obviously saying I made a game with zombies in it. Release when? That's really the hot question that everyone's asking.
Oh, I know. I should just give myself like a timeline. Be like, you know what,
Just
James?
do it.
By this date, you're gonna have that game out. Because I honestly, seriously, have not been working on it at all. But I was talking to someone who wanted to port it to platforms and might do that. So I don't know. But that's a thing I keep reminding myself to get into, because we have a whole back catalog that is now just disappearing with the Xbox 360, and it's like, that kind of sucks, right?
It does.
You gotta do something.
It does, and I mean, if you're able to go to a company that can port them for like Zombies and Pterodactyls, personally, I'd like to see a Steam launch, because in terms of like couch multiplayer, it's just this right side of silly, but the controls, at least I remember in the 360 era, were quite tight. So I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Or just go all like Samurai Gun 2 on it, like, go get yourself a big publisher, loads of money, trailer, just do it.
Oh boy.
Don't.
I don't know about all that, but I will take your advice under advisement.
Okay, so again, James, Michelle, thank you both so kindly for coming onto this.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
we'll do this again sometime.
Honestly, if you stick around, I will keep talking. This is what I do.
Okay. I have to figure out how to exit a Discord call, because now as far as games industry goes, I'm suddenly very old and don't know anything anymore. So
I have to get youth to teach me how to use things now.
I still don't know how Instagram works. There, I said it.
Oh,
I
me
said
neither.
It. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And social media has been a part of my job for years.
Same here. Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest. Those they took off without me.
Yeah. I just want Tom back. Just come back, Tom.
Tom, be my friend again.
Yeah. Tom right now is just sitting in his like mansion, and he's like, I knew you guys would want me back.
You thought Twitter was going to be all cool. Well,
yeah.
You want Facebook back? MySpace back.
I'm the hero you want, but I'm not the hero you deserve. All right. Well, it
was a pleasure talking, but we gotta go talk to some other people.
Go do the thing. I'm gonna make a new Viking, and we're gonna kick some ass. All
right. Thanks for having us on, and thank you, chat. We love you all.
All right. Peace out.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Where are the buttons? Okay. So, you lovely, lovely folks, I'm just going to quickly grab myself a cup of tea, and we're going to get into this proper. Once again, a huge, massive thank you to Michelle and James of Ska Studios for coming down and hanging out. Those of you who have come on over from Ska Studios community, we're going to be getting stuck into Salt and Sanctuary in just a few minutes. You are all cordially welcome to come along. If there are things that you know that are interesting and worth pointing out that I don't mention, please do. I don't see it being a problem. Salt and Sanctuary is, while it is a game with a really, we're going to see a lot of interesting things. your experience of Salt and Sanctuary will be very different from mine, and I wholeheartedly advise everybody pick up a copy of this. But first, without further ado, I need a hecking cup of tea. Oh, that was an emotional roller coaster. The game stops working, game won't work, and then Steam's just being a bit shite. Great, thanks Steam, you bastard. Okie dokie Lokis. Right. Tea time. I'll be back in just a second. So many things all going on at once, so little time.